It is Thursday, August 7th, right here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is All In Horns presented to you by Rogue Sports Network. Jake, we're getting closer and closer each and every day to the regular season, and that big matchup between what the coaches' polls will announce as the number 1 and number 2 matchup. That would be as we mentioned it in our Wednesday's episode, first time in the history of college football where week 1 is number 1 versus number 2. Now, they'll go based on the AP polls, obviously, but according to the coaches' polls, number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah, not uncommon for those to match up either for the preseason. So the excitement is only going to build. And I've said it feels like for the last month, it's really only been for the last week, but this last few weeks of waiting for the start of the season are the longest. The dog days this summer go by faster than the last 3 weeks where you're just reading, in NFL, you have a little preseason and exhibition games and stuff like that. But when it comes to college football, all you get is little sprinkles of fall practice reports. You don't get the real thing.
No, yeah, and you're 100% right, and I think the Arch Manning mania, the fiasco that surrounds Arch, I think the team has handled it pretty well up to this point in terms of you get interviews from coaches, players, and they're kind of talking about it. And how many times have we heard that Arch is just a regular dude? He's just one of the guys. He's not trying to stand out or anything. But I think now, as we get closer and closer, the more shows and podcasts and national media that bring attention to the top 25 and Texas being ranked number 1, it's only going to ramp up from here on out. I mean, the amount of attention that Texas is going to start garnering from this point until that week 1 matchup in Columbus, it's going to be pretty hectic. And I'm hoping that the team and Sark has these guys pretty well grounded. And I think they do. I mean, they've faced success. They've been in the playoffs, multiple years in a row now. They know what the national spotlight now looks like. It's now about managing those expectations.
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is Sark has a great roster turn going right now, and that is having guys that are older and experienced, but on their contract years per se, getting ready to go to the NFL, and then younger players who are immensely talented and are in prove it years because it's their first time starting, and that's a pretty good combination to have. And it'll really just come down to how some of these younger guys, and it's kind of great to be thrown straight into the oven essentially week 1 going to Ohio State, an environment like that.
And you and I, we've talked about it too. As many as first-year starters as Texas has on the offense, Ohio State, they're bringing in a new crop of guys too. So that week 1 game, I don't think is going to be this smooth sailing. It's going to be pretty looking football week 1. It's going to be 2 teams figuring themselves out, finding their identities. It's not going to be the 2 teams that you're going to see more than likely these 2 teams in the playoffs at the end of the year. It's not going to be those same 2 teams week 1.
No, entire new defensive line for Ohio State, essentially.
New quarterback as well.
Essentially an entire new offensive line for Texas. A new quarterback. His name's Arch Manning, so there's a lot more that goes into it than just a new quarterback with all the hype and everything surrounding it. We saw him start a couple games last year. But yeah, the hype going into this game is going to be at a level I don't think we've ever seen for a week 1 game, when you consider it'll be number 1, number 2, when you consider it'll be an era of the Manning family taking over Texas football. The hype is only going to grow as Lee Corso's final college game day as well. Yeah. I mean, everything building into this game.
National champions.
Yeah, a rematch of the semifinal from last year. It doesn't get any bigger than this for a week 1 game.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we have a big show today. We actually have a very special guest that is going to be joining us right now. That is Jason Minnix from San Antonio Sports Star, the ESPN affiliate there. Welcoming him to the show right now. Jason, glad to have you on. We appreciate your time, and welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, Tanner, Jake. And I tell you what, as you get ready for that season opener, you can't undersell it enough. It is that big of a game. And let's not forget, you mentioned Lee Corso. Big Noon Kickoff. They've added Portnoy. You got McAfee on ESPN. Who knows what kind of shenanigans we could end up with? So many incredible week one matchups that college football can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, and I know y'all cover everything. Now, UTSA is in y'all's backyard. Give us a little preview about little brother down there in San Antonio, the University of Texas San Antonio.
Little brother. I hear you. Well, look, you talk about Arch Manning had that start against UTSA, that incredible run. UTSA should have a really good year. Picked in most polls to finish second in the American. Having Owen McCown coming back is huge for Jeff Traylor. The fact that he was able to keep Owen, who had offers apparently to make a lot more money at bigger places, but longtime family relationship with the Trailers and the McCowns, and obviously dad with NFL money. It's not all about the dollars for him. So I think having your quarterback back is going to be huge, and just getting healthy. Last year they were beat up in so many games, lost a handful of games that they probably should have won. And you look at their final record and going to a bowl with some of the losses they have, when they got healthy towards the end of the year, I think they really showed what they were made of. Jeff Traylor always preaches the 2-0 triangle of toughness and their culture pillars, and you could see that in the team. Off season has been good. They've recruited well. It should be another good, solid year for UTSA, and just everything that they're doing over there to build the program, their commitment to share revenue. And obviously they don't have near the money that a Texas has or a Texas Tech, but they're finding ways to get creative to make money at UTSA for the rev share. Hell, they announced on Tuesday a Joe Nichols concert as part of the Rowdy concert series. They're going to do 3 concerts that are all fundraisers to go towards the rev share. I love the creativity from UTSA.
That's cool. I don't think we've really seen many other. I know Texas has, sometimes they'll bring on a guest at some of their fundraising events, but that sounds like more of is it more of just a concert that's directed where all the funds are just raised for the revenue sharing?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Like UTSA, like everybody, they do a kickoff lunch, and Jerry Rice is going to be the keynote speaker this year. But this concert series is new. I don't know anybody else doing it, although I wouldn't be surprised if others are, because it's another way to get creative on ways they can make money. There's, ticket sales. They play in the Alamo Dome. How many season tickets can they do? They're doing a ticket promotion where buy 2 tickets for $210, the area code 210, and you get season tickets. That will increase their season ticket base. But I like the concert idea, because if you're just a country music fan, I'm not, my wife is, guess who bought tickets? Right? So the idea that, maybe somebody that doesn't really care about UTSA athletics, but cares about country music, they're finding a way to get dollars from them in a roundabout way. So
yeah,
I appreciate the creativity, because a school mid-major like what UTSA is has to get creative to be able to stay competitive, because they're never going to have the dollars that Texas has, or A&M, or Texas Tech. But even in the American, Memphis has that FedEx money, which is real. Tulane has big money. I mean, they've got to figure out ways to generate revenue in ways that universities have never had to think about before.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned the American Conference. I wanted to pick your brain about it real quick. You've got Tulane, you've got Memphis. Obviously, you've got Navy, who had a good season last year. You also have Navy. Memphis.
Beat Army.
Do what now?
Go Navy, beat Army.
Yeah. And then, also Memphis, who, and then you've also got the Memphis Tigers, who, and Memphis, who happen to give you a playbook or two, some insider information. Okay. So in all seriousness, what was the story like in San Antonio when that all broke? Was there any hype to it? Was it kind of just, let's keep it kind of hush hush? What was the city like?
I've got to be 100% honest. We had Jeff Traylor on, and about 20 minutes after the interview, that story broke from
it
On3.
Always happens that way.
I had no idea about it. Nothing, right? I knew nothing about it. I was off the next day because I take almost every Friday off in the summertime. So I was off the next day, but my co-host Joe Reinig was like, I can't believe people weren't pissed off about this. I mean, now granted, the integrity of the game, you look at some of what was shared. One of the players that had a hamstring injury that he was told to, hey, watch out for him. He didn't play in that game. And if you remember, UTSA was down pretty handily in that game and then rallied to win late. So I don't know how much it helped, how much he studied it. I know Jeff Traylor downplayed it. Owen downplayed it. The commissioner downplayed it. But in this world of transfer portal and no loyalty, I'm surprised you don't hear more about this stuff.
So we actually had an entire episode dedicated to it. I think we spent 15, 20 minutes just about talking about and it led to further conversation about the transfer portal. And if you're unhappy in a place, and with the world of social media and how easy it is to share information in today's world, we're surprised. And maybe it does happen more often than the photos of the DMs just don't get leaked.
Trying to choose my words carefully here. Coaches are so freaking paranoid, all of them. And you look at, like, Florida State has banned the media from covering their practices, right? Texas, you get a little period where you can go and, watch, and then the media has to go into a room and not watch. And, like, what are you hiding? I remember when Bill O'Brien was head coach of the Houston Texans, there's a Holiday Inn right there by their practice field. Apparently he rented out all the rooms where you could see from the balcony the football field. And media, we used to stay there. We couldn't stay there anymore. Years and years and years ago, when Gary Kubiak was the coach, we would do our show inside the practice bubble while practice was going on. Then Bill O'Brien put us in a conference room there in the bubble that was, just bigger than a closet. And one time, we're doing our show, they moved us into the press box. So we're in the press box doing an afternoon show. The practice facility, is across the street, but I do an afternoon show. So they moved inside, realized we were up there, stopped practice, and some people came up and hung a big old black curtain on the press box window so we couldn't see what they were doing, which was apparently just a special teams practice. And part of me is thinking, if you're this paranoid, what have you done, right? Mind you, Bill O'Brien did spend time in the New England team, right? But also, I don't know enough to help a team win.
Yeah.
But you're paranoid as hell. Why are you paranoid? Is it because of what you're doing? Now, we know everybody tries to study signs and cadences and, coaches, I think it's pretty well known. They get, the TV copy so that they could see what cadences are being broadcast. And that's obviously very big in the spring leagues, like with the access the UFL gives. But coaches do pay attention to that, and they constantly change their signals. Well, they're paranoid about it because they're looking for the same thing. So, any little morsel of info that can help a coach feel like they've got an advantage, it's there. Tanner, you do high school football. You ask for a depth chart from a coach, and sometimes, he thinks you asked for access to his ATM.
It's incredible to me, the shortness that I get in prep from coaches, especially if they don't know me. If it's not the team that I'm following, I'm reaching out to the opposing team, and it's like, hey, can I get a 2 deep? Oh, we don't do that here. You don't have a 2 deep? Like, that's crazy. And which they do, they're just not going to share.
No. And then what you do is, if you have trust with the coach, you could probably get the scouting report on the other team from the coach.
Yeah.
And then all I care about, and you're probably the same way because I trained you well, is you want a quality broadcast. And the more info you can have for your broadcast, the better. Right?
I just need names, man. I just need names and positions. Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and I don't know if you saw, but Tennessee football, granted, they said they were doing it to protect the quarterback because it was an interception on the play, but they posted a clip on social media, their quarterback throwing a ball, it gets intercepted. They blurred out the quarterback where you could not tell who the quarterback was. My thought process was, we're going to start to see more coaches when they haven't announced the starting quarterback or running back. If any clips get posted on social media, I could see them starting to ask the social media crew to start blurring these guys out, because they're going to see what Tennessee did just with saying they're protecting him because he threw an INT. Don't want the fans to be jumping in his DMs saying crazy stuff. But I think it's also probably going to be used to hide who's starting.
Well, there is that. And with no preseason in college football, you have no idea. I mean, I can promise you right now up in Austin, Sark and his staff, they're looking at high school tape of who they think are going to be the starters or who they know are going to be the starters. If it's a transfer kid, they're watching tape of where they were at the other place. I mean, you watch looking for tendencies last year. Game one is always difficult in college football to prepare for. So I can understand why some coaches would want to have some sort of element of surprise and keep some things secret. But in this world of social media, so much access to so much, fans crave it. That's why it's a $1 billion industry. But now also these guys are getting paid. College fans, whatever your program is, the hand has always been out, but now it's out for multiple things. I mean, how many checks can you write? And then you act all secretive and ban the media, which is a conduit to the fans, because the fans crave this information. You piss off the media and there's no coverage, and then you're still going to try to get people to write checks. It doesn't make sense. There should be a better working relationship. But also, if you're that paranoid, man, that you're worried about what some reporter's saying and might report, an interception in practice, not the end of the world. It happens every time. And the other thing, I just got back from Cowboys camp last week. Dak had an awful day, and one of the days there was pretty bad for Dak, although great for the defense. What are you celebrating for? But what we don't know when you're watching is, are they working on specific things? Is he throwing in a certain area, regardless of how the route is run, or 2 steps and throw it no matter what? You have no idea what the actual goal of that practice session was. But
maybe it's an interception drill for the defense, and
yeah, well, and Dak's got thick skin. He can handle it.
Yeah. And so speaking of, I'm actually glad you segued me right to Cowboys training camp. Now, my questions are not going to be about how the Cowboys look. I have a vague idea that what they're going to be this year. First of all, I'm a little curious about Shoddy and how he's running camp and whatnot. What I'm more curious about, though, is the after party that you guys attended on. You posted some pictures at Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones's media party that they throw for you guys. I know that they're just trying to butter you guys up, so y'all say nice, pretty things about Jerry Jones.
Yeah, right.
And I know that's not going to work on you, Jason. I know you're a stronger man than that. I'm a little disappointed you didn't get a chance to take Jerry out when you had the chance.
We'll start with the party because it's a lot more interesting. It's a media party, and it's the media that's out there covering Oxnard. You got network people there. Al Michaels was there. Andrew Whitworth from NFL Network was there. Some former players show up at this event. It's at Nobu in Malibu. If you've never been, just Google image. It's right on the water. It is spectacular, and the food is just incredible. I've been to the Nobu in Vegas before, and the bill was like a car payment. So I can only imagine what Jerry pays for this, because it's unlimited food. They've got this huge buffet table that's constantly replenished, and then you got people walking around handing you food.
It's probably worth Micah's salary.
It's maybe the bonus, the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Then of course all the alcohol, and you never have an empty drink. Again, there are bars, but if they see you there with an empty drink, they make sure you have a full drink. It is spectacular, and everything is off the record. So you can ask Jerry questions that you get a different answer to than when you're doing an interview. Mm-hmm. Same with Steven. Now, I can say, while it's off the record, I didn't hear anything about Micah Parsons at that party that you haven't heard from Jerry or Steven They stayed with their talking points. There have been other times where, you hear things and you go, holy crap, he really just said that.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
No, and it shouldn't. But when you meet Jerry Jones, I'm a Cowboy fan. I love Jerry Jones, the owner. I hate the SOB as the GM, right?
Yeah.
And I know Jerry, the owner, would fire Jerry, the GM, if it wasn't the guy looking back at him in the mirror. I think we all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you get around Jerry, you say, Tanner, oh man, take him out. Man, you'd be kissing his ring and telling him how much you love him. And honestly, I think the coolest part about that whole deal is it's not just football talk about the Cowboys. Jerry telling stories, a story time with Jerry, Steven talking about, you name it. I mean, obviously they're big Arkansas football fans. I mean, they're sports guys, them asking about the Spurs and if the building's going to get built and what's Wemby like. And they're just dudes with a lot of zeros and commas attached to their name. And yes, the Cowboy fan of me wants to, dude, man, what are we doing?
Yeah.
The talk show host of me, I appreciate the content, although I've got Micah Parsons fatigue. I know what's going to happen. Micah's going to get the deal. It's going to be probably $43-45 million per year, damn near 200 guaranteed. He's going to be happy and say he never wanted to leave. He was just frustrated. We all know how it's going to end.
Yep.
It's just the roller coaster and getting to the end of the book.
Who was it, CD or Dak? They said it's the same thing every year. It's just
Dak.
a different player.
Every year. Last year, CD wasn't in camp. Dak was there, but wasn't talking, willing to play out the final year. The year before that, it was Zach Martin. Every year, Jerry does this with his star players. For whatever reason, Jerry thinks he's doing business the right way. 31 other teams do it differently, but Jerry's turned that into an empire, so we know he's not an idiot. But at the same time, same thing over and over. Shireen Williams from Pro Football Talk. She joins us every week on my show, The Blitz, and her theory is Jerry likes to wait because as soon as you sign those contracts, that money has to get put in escrow. So until Jerry has to put that money in escrow, it's making money for Jerry Jones while it's in his bank account. But the moment it moves over, and that's the only business reason why, because let's face it, $200 million is making Jerry a lot of money every day. And he stops making that money when he signs Micah. Micah could go get hit by a car. Jerry said that. He could get hurt in practice. So delay, and then sign him. It makes no sense to me. That's business levels above my head, but it's the only thing that makes sense that Jerry does this because, quite frankly, it can't be just to garner the headlines, which I think is a low-hanging fruit talking point that you're going to lead every show until you sign them. It's the Dallas Cowboys. There's something that's going to have them leading every show. Jerry doesn't need this to help promote the Netflix special that comes in 2 weeks because it's Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and that you kind of stole my question. I was going to say, is he waiting until the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday Night Football, to steal the headline from Super Bowl winning champions in the division to Micah Parsons got a 4-year deal, $200 million guaranteed. That's going to be the storyline, not banner night for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think once we get there, it's still going to be the Cowboys and Micah Parsons is going to be the story. I mean, Micah doesn't have the leverage here because Jerry can control him for the next 3 years. He could play this year and then get the franchise tag and then get the franchise tag. In reality, he can get the franchise tag in the third year, but it would be too expensive. The other part of it is from a business standpoint, could this be what Jerry's thinking is you sign that extension and you're making north of $40 million a year, 40, 42, 45, whatever it ends up being. Franchise tag for Micah Parsons next year is going to be $27 million, right? Cheaper next year to have them play on the tag, although all 27 would be a hit to next year's cap. So it might just be a numbers game for Jerry. He could have signed him last year for $35 million. Although Micah did admit in that post on Twitter that his agent told him to wait, let some of these other guys get paid. And keep in mind, Micah said repeatedly last season he doesn't have to be the highest paid guy. But he also has the best agent in the NFL, and Mulligeta's not going to leave a nickel on the table. The NFLPA doesn't want them to leave a nickel on the table.
Well, but it also feels like when you start to sever a relationship over time, which it feels like the Cowboys do with all their big players, because like you said, they use the leverage of the franchise tag. I think more than any other team. I think the only other team who operates similar to the Cowboys is probably the Bengals. Yes, they signed Joe Burrow long-term, but they have a lot of contractual issues themselves. But I think the frustration comes from seeing Philadelphia sign their good players early on. Sign a Micah Parsons for $35 million a year ago. Yes, you could franchise tag him next year for $27 million, but obviously, I think we all know you save longer term in the cap, or at least give yourself a short-term window. Feels like the Cowboys it feels like, to me, my theory is Jerry Jones wants to be a playoff team. He doesn't want to take the big risk that it would take to become a Super Bowl team again, which would be essentially, and all Cowboys fans hate to hear these two words, but go all in for a time period.
Sorry, Minnix, and I think what that does is it's going to affect the culture, which Dallas has had a culture problem since the mid-90s, of guys playing for the team, playing for the star. They get their contract. We've seen it with Trayvon Diggs. We've seen it with many, many players in the past. They go through this hoops and they do the little dance for Jerry. They finally sign the contract because it is the money that they've been asking for. The deal gets done. So the money's there, but their drive to play hard and care and love about the team of what it takes to win. And then you hear players talk about Philly and how much they love playing for Howie and how much they love playing for the organization and how great it is coming into work every single day and playing football for that franchise. You stop hearing that after contract number 2 and 3 for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to disagree with you a lot there, Tanner. Trayvon Diggs got paid early. That's one that Jerry actually did early, and then he got hurt. Then he got hurt again. He hasn't had a full season since he got his big contract. Now he's in a bit of a pissing match with the Cowboys because he decided to work out in Miami this year and not rehab at the facility, and they docked him $500,000 because of that de-escalator clause in his contract. And so that's got him a little grumpy because he's $500,000 lighter, and he said he didn't know about it, which is BS. He knew about it, and if he didn't, his agent knew about it. But they talked about it. I kind of go back to, when Jerry has done it early, it hasn't worked. Diggs is one, and he got hurt. Think about Dak Prescott last year, signed his big deal, and he got hurt. So I can understand Jerry being a little bit hesitant, but he also wants longer contracts. Typically, Jerry wants to sign guys to long deals so you can spread out the bonuses, and it's easier on the cap. That's why he thinks he won with Dak Prescott. Played on the tag twice and then signed a 4-year deal. Jerry got his 6 years out of Dak on that initial contract. The way Philly does it, yeah, they're taking care of guys early and they're giving them short contracts. Now they just won a Super Bowl, so it's worth it. But at some point, all those guys are going to be back at the table sooner rather than later and getting max money. Now, I don't know if Micah wants a short deal. It doesn't sound like they've actually legitimately traded official offers yet. But when Jerry used the term $200 million, math tells you that's over a 5-year deal. David Mulligeta typically does 3-year deals. Look at the Singletary Darrell deal down with the Houston Texans. That's the kind of deal that Mulligeta typically does. So we don't really know what the number is or what the years or what the holdup is, but also leadership is a big thing for Jerry. And that meeting they had in March, it was a big part of this is what we expect from somebody we're giving this kind of money to. Now, Mike has been a completely different player this offseason, the kind of leader that Jerry is looking for. He's responded well, but will he continue to do that after he gets paid? Maybe Jerry's just waiting to see how long he will be this new version of Micah Parsons and not the loner. Think about that Jane Slater tweet after Micah's goodbye tweet to Dallas. It was Jane Slater from the NFL Network that said 2 years ago there were rumblings about a trade because he rubbed a lot of teammates the wrong way. Shortly after Jane's tweet in Oxnard, there were other media, other people associated with the team that were like, yeah, he's not the most likable guy in the building. Now, if he can go get the quarterback and be the dominant player, you put up with a lot of crap. That just comes with being in the NFL. You mentioned culture and asked about Shoddy real quick. Training camp this year completely different than what it was last year with Mike McCarthy. Last year was just a weird vibe. Dak's deal, CD's deal, Mike McCarthy in the last year of his contract. It was just a weird training camp. Before that, Mike McCarthy had a pretty typical training camp, very similar to Jason Garrett. Honestly, Shoddy, it completely changed everything about it. I do think the culture in the room is different. You hear guys talking about the energy is different. I was out there for a week and you could feel the difference, just the way they compete. Some of the goofy games, and you probably saw on social media with them riding horses or whatever the hell they were doing. They're constantly playing basketball, constantly playing ping pong. They're competing every day, and that is something Shoddy preaches. Compete every day. It's on the key cards to your hotel room. Some of the gear. Jason Garrett had a T-shirt for every saying he had. Shoddy has they were hoodies, but they say compete every day. But you could tell the energy. And the other thing that he's done is it's not segregated. Offense and defensive guys are doing stuff together off time as opposed to position group over here, position group over there. It kind of sounds like the locker room is set up very differently than it used to be. It's a very, very different vibe this year. Shoddy's won the offseason. I wasn't excited when he got hired. You're promoting from within. What else are we going to see different? He was not a in-demand hire, in-demand coach. You're an offensive coordinator, didn't call plays. What the hell are you doing? Being around him, I could see how he got in a room and sold the Joneses. In fact, Steven told us last week on our show, Shoddy didn't know he was being interviewed. They were doing their typical end-of-year conversations with the coordinators. And then I guess Shoddy picked up on these aren't typical questions. So the next meeting that they set, he showed up in a sport coat, is what Steven told us, because I think he realized, this actually might be a job interview. I'm not really sure, but I can see it. Now, he's won the offseason. He's got to win in September, October, and more importantly, in January.
Well, I think I'll speak for Tanner and myself here. We were not happy whenever he was announced as the head coach. We were kind of
burning. The only one that was happy was Mrs. Schottenheimer.
We were burn it all down mode. I think now, today, I don't think Tanner or I have ever been more excited about a head coach at the Dallas Cowboys in our lifetimes. Granted, our lifetimes have essentially only been Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy. We had Bill Parcells. We were too young to really know what a head coach was then. It's basically been Jason Garrett, Wade Phillips a little bit, and then Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy our whole lives. Schottenheimer went for me from the worst hire in the world to someone that's sold me a little bit with how he talks about motion, not just how he talks about culture and all that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much they're really showing at camp when everyone's watching or how much you got to see, but it feels like when he talks about motion and just how he schematically wants to run an offense, it is something that's much different than what we've seen under Jason Garrett and under Mike McCarthy.
He says he's going to run the ball. Granted, I've never met a coach except for Hal Mummy that said they weren't going to run the ball. I'm old. I played for Hal Mummy at Copperas Cove High School. Every defensive coach says we're going to stop the run, right? But there was an emphasis on the run game while we were out there. Miles Sanders looks really good. Now he's dealing with a bit of a knee. Jaden Blue looked really good. Javonte Williams looks really good. And he was named as the number one running back, at least on their first depth chart. I don't know if he will be when they roll into Philadelphia, because it does seem like they don't want to necessarily be running back by committee, but you could see that there is a commitment to the run. And then you look at his history when he was with Seattle. Pete Carroll had Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch, and how well they ran the ball, and probably should have had one more run in there, if you know what I mean. And then you think about Marty Ball, run heavy. The question I have is, you can tell me that all day long. Is that offensive line going to be able to hold up in the run blocking? You got Pickens, you got CD. CD, this is the best camp I've ever seen CD Lamb have. That dude is, and George Pickens looks to be incredible. Then you add in what you should get from Jake Ferguson. You got Tolbert, you got Turpin. Jonathan Mingo looked really good in camp, which quite honestly kind of surprised me. They're going to have difficult decisions to make when it comes to the wide receiver room. But when you have all those weapons and a Dak Prescott, I need to see proof that you're actually going to stay committed to the run.
All right. Hey, before we let you go, I want two things. De'Aaron Fox just signed a big contract for the Spurs. I know Jake is a big Spurs fan. We've talked a little Spurs more times off the air than we do on the air, but we think that this year is a playoff year for the Spurs, kind of a must playoff year, not a play-in, but a playoff team. With Wemby going into year 3, he's healthy, and you got De'Aaron Fox. You got Stephon Castle, rookie of the year, coming in for year 2, and it seems like there's something building in San Antonio to cause for a little bit of excitement.
Well, it's definitely exciting, that is for sure. But let me backtrack. Last year, when they made the trade midseason for De'Aaron Fox, I said on my show, and I still believe it, that was the difference between them being a play-in team and a playoff team. Even though we were dealing with Mitch Johnson as an interim coach and questions about back then, Pop, we were told, might even come back after the All-Star break, which after seeing him, you realize that was never going to happen. But we only got 5 games before they shut Wemby down with the blood clots. And then De'Aaron had that surgery, so he's ready to go at the start of this season. I like what they've done this offseason with Olenek and Cornette. Dylan Harper, you trip into getting a player like him, like Carter Bryant, too, the mid-teen pick that they have was at 14, 15, whatever it was. But I don't know that I could sit here right now and tell you that they're one of the 6 best teams in the Western Conference, because I like what Houston did, getting Kevin Durant. You still have Oklahoma City. You've got Denver. You got a couple of teams in LA. You got Cooper Flag in Dallas. The West continues to get better. So last year, I thought they would be in the top 6 when they made that move, and they were going all in, and it would be a serious playoff push. I like what they've done this offseason. I don't know that they've done enough to say that they're up there. I mean, would you say they're better than Minnesota right now? The answer is no.
No.
Would you say they're just not better than Denver? They're not better than Oklahoma City. They're not better than Houston. But are they a play-in team? Yes.
And I mean, I'm talking like 7, 8 seed at the minimum.
That's play-in, not playoff.
Well, once they get into the playoffs, they're a playoff seed. But yeah, I mean, I think the Clippers are going to collapse. I think that's inevitable.
They're just so freaking old.
Yeah,
and they've got that dude that we don't speak of.
Right, and I think if the Clippers had this team in 2014, they'd be really good. And then Dallas, we'll see. Again, kind of aging. I'm not 100% sure. Again, that's the injury thing. And if Cooper Flag is Cooper Flag, it's a rookie year. Everyone thought Wemby was going to change the NBA immediately. It's taken him, not that he's a bad player by any means. He's generational. But again, in terms of the team success, that might come a little bit later for Dallas.
Cooper Flag, if he can stay healthy, is going to have an Anthony Davis.
If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Cooper Flag is in a better situation coming in than Wemby was.
100%.
We've mentioned a whole bunch of teams in the West. I forgot about, the Golden State Warriors. There are so many teams out there in the West. To say that the Spurs are in the top 6, I can't honestly say that right now. Pisses me off, but I can't. Are they a play-in team? They better be, and then win the play-in, and then see what happens in the playoffs. Now they could, but they helped the front court this offseason. They added some nice depth pieces. They still need to get a solid 3-point shooter. That's why I was kind of hoping they'd go after a Kevin Durant. They didn't do that. there might still be a piece or two away. I mean, that Riley Minnix, who needs another N in his last name, he can come up from Austin and knock down some threes. The future is certainly bright. As a Spur fan, how much more patience are they going to ask of us? How patient is Wemby going to be? He says all the right things, and he seems to be on board with the Spurs plan, but that's a kid that wants to win. He wants to win and he wants to compete. I don't know how patient they can actually be.
Yeah, I know I'm to the point where I'm sick of, I don't know how the feel is in San Antonio. I don't live in San Antonio, but for me as a Spurs fan, after the championships kind of started to go into the drought, right? For the first, I don't know, 5-6 years, I was just kind of like, it's fine. I've seen so many championships in my lifetime. It's fine. Then you start getting a little bit more and a little bit more. And then now once they drafted Wemby, it was like, okay, surely this means they'll be back. So I understand what you're saying. That they may not on paper be a top 6 team, but I feel like you said, how long is Wemby going to wait? It feels, I feel like the talks of relocation have slowed down a little, but how long is the city going to wait? How long are the owners going to wait? How long can it wait for them to be a playoff team when you're already getting into year 3 of Wemby? And for me, my frustrations are starting to get high. I can only imagine what it is in a city that's seen so many championships.
It is interesting. Now, I don't think relocation is a concern. And I say that this week, Bexar County Commissioners Court voted 4-1 to at least get their portion on the ballot on November 4th. So voters will have a say, but that is a small part of the overall Project Marvel. The rest of it's coming from funds that are already there. And the Spurs have committed $1 billion towards the project. So it's going to happen, right? They're not going anywhere. It's going to happen. The Spurs have put their money where their mouth is. I think all kinds of weird stuff would have to happen for it not to happen, and then they move and we become El Paso. But Jake, how old are you and where do you live?
30. I'm from Belton, Texas. I live in Kansas City, Kansas right now.
Oh, nice. Well, Belton Tiger, huh?
No, well, he's actually a Salado Eagle.
I'm a Salado Eagle. But me and Tanner grew up in the same neighborhood in Belton.
Yeah, that's disappointing. But you're still friends.
Yeah,
Still friends. I would say you're 30, so I'm a little older than you, but you sound like me when I was, kind of a little bit younger than you. I grew up, I saw the Cowboys win Super Bowls, and then in my early 20s, they won 3. Right. And you think you're going to have this all the time. And in that point in my life, my New Jersey Devils were winning Stanley Cups. And the Longhorns won a national championship. I mean, my life was good, and except for the Astros would never win. That was the one that I was missing with the teams I'm rooting for. And I think my daughter was born in 98. In her lifetime, she's seen the Spurs win 5 championships. She hasn't seen 5 Cowboy playoff wins. Mm-hmm. I mean,
94 here, so I'm in the same boat essentially.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it that way.
Yeah. All right. Hey, before we let you go, I know we've gone a little overtime, but we just love talking to you. So, this is a Longhorns podcast. Do you have any takes on Arch Manning, the Longhorns, their season, the hype going into next season, and then where do you think that their season? A little bit of a prediction where their season's going to end up.
It's crazy. I thought this whole show was going to be Longhorns, man. That's all I thought we were going to talk about.
Yeah. You came prepared with all the stats and all the rosters and everything.
Arch Manning is thankful that we did a whole conversation and didn't include him. Let's go back to the very beginning. What you boys were talking about. Arch Manning is prepared for the spotlight. He's dealt with it his whole life. The expectations. I mean, hell, he played high school where Eli and Peyton did. This team has been in the spotlight, just being in the playoffs a couple years. I don't think the spotlight's going to be too bright for them. This isn't a team that is tripping into the national stage like, say, TCU did a couple of years ago when they went to the national championship game, right? Texas is built for this. You come to UT and it's there. They are going to be so good, and they're going to replenish I think they're going to be fine. Michael Terry from San Antonio Alamo Heights, he's actually, from what I'm hearing, is having a good practice, and others tell me where maybe they didn't think he was going to be a player his freshman year, I'm hearing that maybe he will be. And I saw him play a couple times in high school. Kid is a stud. That's what they do at Texas in programs like that. Ohio State, same thing. You replace an NFL guy with another guy that's going to be in the NFL soon. Starting with Ohio State is great. Win or lose, obviously I want them to win, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't wreck your season, which is why we're seeing better week one type matchups, because in this current playoff format, you can have a loss. You're 1 versus 2. We've never seen that before. You still look at, the Georgia game to me is the biggest one on the schedule. And I say that knowing that OU and A&M are on the schedule, but at some point you got to beat Georgia. And Ohio State ended your year last year. It's weird to play a team that ended your season last year to open up the season this year. But when you look at the way Sark has built this thing up, I would be surprised if they're not playing Penn State for the national championship.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the Penn State pick. But no, Jason, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. Anybody who wants to hear more from Minnix and the gang over there at San Antonio Sports Star, Minnix, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, sasportstar.com. You can watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to the San Antonio Sports Star YouTube channel Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 Central. Joe Reinagel and myself every afternoon, our morning show guys. A lot of Longhorns, a lot of Cowboys, a lot of Spurs, some Aggies. Not a lot of Aggies too. I mean, we're there.
You got Rob Thompson.
You had me. You had me there at the start.
Yeah.
I'll have you at the end too, man. Jake, I just want you to do me a favor. I want you tomorrow to go over to Joe's, and I want you to get a couple of ribs, some burnt ends, and a Z-Man sandwich. Man, you do that and you're good.
Man,
a cultured man. He won me back over.
I forgot to tell you guys, y'all are both pitmasters. Yeah, I got 2 pitmasters on the show. We could have had a whole podcast about meats.
Well, I mean, we could, and maybe we'll do that next time. And when you graduate from Hot Pockets, you can join in on the conversation. I mean, it's
wow, he knows you. Yeah, he knows you well.
But I can tell you, Jake, I know I've gone to Kansas City basically for a quick event and to go over to Joe's. They're incredible ribs. And as a Texas guy, it used to piss me off that I'd go to Kansas and then it was called Oklahoma Joe's. But I know I'm going to Kansas City September 27th for a Blink-182 concert. We'll fly in that morning.
I might be at that concert as well, by the way.
Go to the concert. You can buy beers. And then Sunday we're going to Joe's and then to the airport. I mean,
where are you?
Don't do that again, Tanner.
Sorry.
Don't do that again. That was awful.
I need to have Jason. We need to have Jason on more just to give you crap.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, you know, I was going to say you can't afford me, but if it's just to give Tanner crap, I'm in.
There we go. Hey, we'll definitely have you back on, man. Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep. All right. Well, that is Jason Minnix from San Antonio Sports Star. Again, give him a follow on Twitter, all the social media pages, and all the other things. This episode's getting long as it is. Let's go ahead, wrap up the show. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like what you heard today. We come out with these episodes 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, each and every single day. As we lead up to the regular football season, we'll be giving our reaction episodes on Saturday. So we'll move these episodes Tuesday through Saturday for the regular season. But until then, it'll be Monday through Friday. Hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get alerts on the show, and we'll be here for you 5 days a week for your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All in Horns. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.